Today we're going to take a look at the dino taming survival craft game known as Ark Survival Evolved. I'll be going over the basics and in detail about the gardening aspect of this game, which means I'll be including everything from how to plant and grow, to the resources you'll need and where to get them, and even some dinos that'll help in your gardening endeavors. I've done this video in sections and have included chapters so you can skip to it if there's just one or two things you want information on. With that said, let's dive in. Ark Survival Evolved is a game about surviving and thriving in a hostile world full of prehistoric creatures ranging from the ever-popular T-Rex to these annoying little shits that love to snatch your items and run like cowards. You'll start out naked on a beach and immediately need to figure out just how you're gonna make it through the night. Survive long enough and you'll go from primitive wood and stone to a high-tech warrior in command of the world's most powerful creatures. But no matter if you're a naked survivor or a badass with a T-Rex, everyone gets hungry, everyone gets sick, and gardens are handy to have for your food and medical needs. Open up your menu and check out the Engram tab. As you scroll, you'll see you can unlock small garden plots at level 10. These are the first plots you'll be able to unlock, and they pretty much exist to grow berries. Medium plots are the next at level 26. These are what you'll be planting your veggies and citrons in. And then there's large plots at level 36, which you'll be using for a super special plant. Before you place them down, you'll need materials for it. Fiber, stone, wood, and thatch are all easy to gather. You'll just need a couple tools to get the job done. Fiber can be gathered by hand by interacting with the surrounding foliage by pressing the Interact key, which is E for keyboard users. Stone and wood can be gotten with the use of a hatchet on rocks for stone, and trees for wood. How do you get stone with a hatchet? I don't know. Video game logic. Thatch can be gotten from trees as well with the use of a pick. Again, video game logic. When you have all the materials, it's time to craft the plots. If you've learned the engram, you can go to this tab to craft. Either scroll to find it or use the search function if you have a lot of engrams unlocked and navigating is becoming a bit of a hassle. Right-click on the engram and you'll get the option to craft one or all, which means you can craft as many as you have material for, or select the exact amount you want to craft at the bottom. Once they're crafted, you can either right-click and select Place Item, or drag it into your hotbar and press the corresponding key. If it's red, you can't place it, but if it's green, it's good to go. You can place these right on the ground or on foundations, rooftops, or even tables, and they can even be placed inside or outside. They don't require sunlight. The only thing you need sunlight for is the greenhouse effect once you have said greenhouse. Though if they are inside, you won't be able to count on the rain to water them. Now that they're placed, you'll have some info pop up once you take a look at them. From the top going down, you'll see your fertilizer options, the size of your crop plot, which tribe it belongs to and who personally built it, how much water it can hold and how much it currently has, how much fertilizer is currently present, which seed has been planted or not seeded if nothing's been planted yet, and the bottom it'll show the percentage of the greenhouse effect. You can place seeds in there now, but they won't be doing anything until they're watered and fertilized. So let's start with water. You have a few options when it comes to watering your plants. You can do it manually with the use of water jars or any container that can hold water. Just take your water container to a body of water and in your menu use the Use Interact key and it'll fill with water. You can also fill them from the tap, but we'll get to that in a moment. Place them in your plot's inventory and press the Use key again and the water will be used to water the plot. One jar holds 200 water, so one will cover a small plot where you'll need 3 for the large plot. If you want to rely on rain to water your garden, then this is a good way to get that initial watering done. Though since small plots only hold 200 water, they may dry up in between rains, so that's something to keep in mind. If you want a more reliable way to keep your plots watered, check out the irrigation. You'll unlock stone irrigation pipes pretty early on, and they don't take a lot to build. If you're getting water from a natural water source like the sea, lake, river, or swamp, you'll need to place an intake pipe first. It doesn't have to be submerged, but it needs to be pretty close to water. From there, use a combination of straight, inclined, vertical, and intersection pipes to navigate the landscape to reach your desired location. You can run them pretty far, so you don't have to be right on the water to use these. You'll know you're getting water by the color of your pipes. Blue means you have water running, and stone color means there's no water flowing. Now place the tap to get the water flowing to your plots. It'll provide water to a decently wide area around it. If you need more, just extend it further and place taps as you go. You can even use the cross pipe and put one on each end for a wider reach. If you run yours like I have mine here, you'll notice I have a top row and a bottom row. The bottom row is for the small crop plots, as the taps were too high to reach them due to a very small difference in plot heights. Thus, I made the bottom row of taps to reach them. Otherwise, you can place them on tables to negate the need to do this, or just don't place your taps up as high. These taps can also be drank from, and you can fill your canteens and water bottles in here too. No more needing to run down into the swamp and risk death every time you're thirsty. Now we need fertilizer. Unlike the other games I've gone over, you absolutely need it here. Plants will not grow without it. Before you get fertilizer, you'll have to do some poop scooping. All dinos and humans poo. Follow them around long enough and you'll get your hands on a steaming pile. And I do mean your hands. Your bare hands. It helps to have some tame dinos at your base for this, but you can get it from wild dinos and creatures too. Run around long enough and you'll come across it. You can place the raw poo in the plots to act as fertilizer, but it doesn't last as long as a fully composted bag of it. And you have 3 ways to get that. A compost bin does, well, exactly what it says. Throw your feces and some thatch in there, and after some time you'll have a bag of compost. It's pretty slow, so let's look at some other options. You can craft a toilet at level 32. You're gonna have to link it to a water pipe for it to work. Once you do, press the interact key to take a seat, and then the plus key to drop the kids off at the pool. Don't forget to flush. Once you do, you'll get a couple bags of fertilizer immediately. The best way to convert poo to fertilizer are these critters. These are dung beetles, and you can find them in caves. To tame them, simply have a ball of poop in the last slot in your hotbar, and you'll get the option to hand it over. Do this twice, and that beetle is all yours. It'll follow you around, but it's pretty slow on land. Better to pick it up and hurry back to base. When at base, if you place the poop in its inventory and enable roaming, it'll quickly convert it into fertilizer. Just make sure it has access to either meat or rotten meat to eat, be that in its inventory or a feed trough. You'll have more fertilizer than you'll know what to do with in no time. If you've been following along so far, you've probably already come across some seeds. All of them, except for one, can be gotten from any of the foliage around. As always, doing it by hand takes some time, but it is possible to get every seed this way. There are a couple dinos that help in this area, but we'll cover that in the helpful dino section. For now, I'll show a list of every seed and which plots they belong in, as well as where and how to get Plant Species X seeds, and what they are. I'm also going to cover how you plant your seed and how you harvest your produce. All you have to do to plant the seeds is place them in the plot inventory. It only takes 1 seed per plot, no matter the seed, and as long as you have fertilizer and water, you're good to go. You'll be able to tell when they're ready not only by how they look, but the information displayed as well. When it says fruiting, check its inventory and simply take the produce into your own inventory. Sometimes you'll even get seeds. There is a spoil rate for berries and veggies, so I recommend building a preserving bin or a refrigerator to lengthen the lifespan of your harvested goods. Plant Species X can be found in a couple places, but I found mine in the swamp area. You can get them from plants that look like these by either using a sickle, by hand, or any dino that can harvest seeds. I used a Theory for mine. You can also get these seeds from these briar-looking foliage and the cattails by using a dino or your hands. You'll get plenty this way, literally more than you're ever gonna use. Now, what exactly is this plant? You can't eat it, can't make it into medicine, heck, you can't even harvest it. No, this plant has another purpose altogether: base defense. Once you've planted them in a large plot and they're fully grown, they'll use fertilizer as ammunition to shoot at any attackers, which can slow and blind them, making them a great companion to your turrets. You can't move them once planted, so place them along the walls to give them the best advantage. As a side note, unless you're planting them for aesthetic reasons, I wouldn't bother with planting most of the berries. You'll get more than enough from harvesting foliage. However, narco and stem berries are something I'd keep around. These two have some really good uses. Now onto the greenhouse. You can lock the greenhouse pieces at level 42 through 50. You'll need metal, crystal, and cementing paste to make these. These materials are a bit more difficult to obtain than the standard wood and stone, but they're not that difficult. Metal can be gotten from these smooth stones, usually located near water, and these small groups of stones with the use of a pick. To get higher quantities of metal, look for these nodes. They can usually be found on top of mountains or inside caves. And crystal can usually be found in the same places, so it's a 2-for-1. The caves can be dangerous, housing numerous insect-type creatures that want to shake you down for your hard-earned lunch money. You'll need to be prepared if you intend on going this route. If you're capable enough, you can find a few metal nodes further in, but there are many more if you dive into the water. However, you will be swarmed with dozens of piranha and the sorko to accompany them. A somewhat safer option is to head to the mountaintops, particularly this one. Getting there on foot might be a chore, but if you have a flyer with a decent weight capacity, then it's probably the easiest way to get both metal and crystal. You can also find it near the volcano. Just, try not to roast yourself. Once you have your metal ore, toss it into a refining forge powered by either wood or spark powder, and it'll be converted into metal ingots. Cementing paste is pretty easy to come across. You can unlock the engram for it at level 13, and use chitin or keratin and stone to craft it in the mortar and pestle. You can also find large quantities in beaver dams. Just beware of the piranhas. Again. Build your greenhouse on any foundation you like. Enclose it with walls and a roof, and you'll finally get that greenhouse effect on your plants. 300% is the highest you can get, which is size dependent. If you want something super small, you'll get about 165 and more the bigger you build. If you get the full 300%, it'll make your crops grow 4 times faster, so it's a worthwhile investment, but not completely necessary if you just want something simple. So, what are these plants used for? As I said before, everyone's gotta eat. Your main source of sustenance will be cooked meat, but let's spice it up a little. Before you can cook anything, you'll need a recipe to follow. You can find the Rockwell recipes on carnivores throughout the world, or you can just look them up online. For example, you can make Enduro Stew, which gives you a plus 35% melee damage and a plus 1.2 health per second. Put the ingredients in either a cooking pot or industrial cooker and wait for them to cook. You can also make Medical Brew, which heals you for plus 50 HP. This can be also made in the pot and cooker. There are even recipes to help out with your dinos, like Sweet Vegetable Cake, which heals dinos for plus 500 health and heals 15% HP over 10 seconds. Also, narco berries and rotten meat can be combined to make narcotics, which is essential in taming your rather more rambunctious dinos. There's also a nifty little feature that lets you craft your own recipes. Most herbivores can harvest berries and seeds at a higher rate than you can, but in my experience, which isn't complete, the Bronto, Theri, and Mosh Chops are your best bet for this. There's also the Iguanodon. I didn't notice it harvesting any more than the others, but it has a special ability to convert produce into seeds. Check it out by holding the interact key, and on the radial you'll see the option to seed fruit in inventory. Mosh Chops can be fairly easily tamed. Their needs are random, but you don't have to knock them out. Just put whatever they want in the last slot in your hotbar and offer it to them. They're really better at gathering fiber, but they work fine as an early game berry picker. Theris are a bit more difficult because they will f your up if you aren't prepared. They may be herbivores, but they're as dangerous as any carnivore out there. They're one of the best at delicate harvesting, which is why I used one for our Plant Species X seeds. If you check out its options, you'll see besides leveling it up normally, you can also put points into delicate and power harvesting. Brontos are great because they can clear wide swaths of foliage and trees in a single tail swipe, which will net you more than enough seeds and berries. However, they're much bigger than you, and they know it. They will try to fight you. A trike is also a good early game Gary picker.
Haha, Gary!
They can still mess you up, but they're much easier than a theory to tame, and they're also good at getting large quantities of thatch. For your wood, stone, and metal gathering needs, stegos and ankies are some of the best. You can use a stego to whip down some trees, and an anki to tear those boulders up in no time. Ankies also have a weight reduction from metal, making them one of the more favored picks. As I mentioned before, the dung beetle is your best bet for large quantities of fast fertilizer, and the snail's called Achatina? I'm gonna call them Achatina. Well, they produce their own version of cementing paste for those greenhouses. So, Tek Plots aren't normally available on the island map, and even if they were, you can't find sand on this map. I tried spawning sand in, but that didn't work for me either. So the only way to get these plots on this map is to enable creative mode and insta-craft it. These plots provide their own light, which means you can grow them indoors or caves at a faster rate. And if you place them in a greenhouse with enough space, it'll generate a 500% greenhouse effect, making your plants grow from seedling to fruiting within literal minutes. They also refrigerate plants, making them more self-stable, which means it provides a refrigeration effect for your produce so it lasts longer before spoiling while still in its storage. And that should be everything you need to know to have a basic garden or a crazy complex setup. I personally love having gardens with a mix of usability and aesthetic, and I love when games implement a water system. Out of the games I've done a guide for, this one has one of the better irrigation systems, simply because I like actually seeing the water pour out. Gives it that real greenhouse feeling. I do wish there were more variety in terms of crops and recipes for them, but hey, I guess that's what mods are for. I should mention there are some variations on the water setup on different maps, and there's also a mode called Primitive Plus that has a different variety of crops. I may be going over that in another video, as well as making a video about mods that will really make your garden shine. Before ending this video, I want to mention a few mods that I used in my playthrough that you may have seen. These aren't really garden related so much, but they were useful to me in my playthrough, and I want to give credit where credit's due. Structures Plus by Orionson, Better Map by Gamester85, and RP Visual Storage by Tempest. You can find all of these on the Steam Workshop, and I've had no problems with these mods myself, so you should be fine to include them on your playthrough. Thank you so much for watching. As always, I hope this guide was helpful to some of you out there, or convinced others who aren't usually into these types of games to give it a shot. I know there are tons of great guides that have been out for years by now, but I wanted to give it a shot injected with my particular flavor and style. And plus, I like making videos about games I enjoyed playing, and I enjoyed playing this game. Consider giving it a like if you liked it, leave a comment if you want to correct me, or leave any kind of feedback telling me what I did good or bad, or what you might want to see in the future, or even a simple "Atta girl" will do. If you absolutely disliked it, feel free to give it a dislike. And if you'd like to see more from me, click that subscribe button. I don't have a set schedule for uploads because some videos take longer than others, but I do try to get them out at a reasonable pace. I've got more Ark videos planned, and there will be more gardens for more games coming soon. And again, thank you for watching and have an excellent day.